Malevich's second peasant cycle. After his visit to Berlin, where his one-man exhibition was held in 1927, Kazimir Malevich diverted from non-objective art and created his second peasant cycle. Figurative again, Malevich's painting still bore the brilliant mark of suprematism in the creation of space and forms and in the perception of color. These works are of an astonishing pictorial strength and visual expressivity, the new and lost creative momentum of the painter. He painted monumental hieratic figures of peasants in a field, white face, black beard. Semi-images, as the painter called them. Lev Yudin wrote in his diary on the 21st September 1934, K.S. spoke in his spirit. Non-objective artworks and semi-images, like my peasants, are currently what is the most important. They act more strongly than anything. Through Malevich's peasants could be seen the philosophical position of the painter that takes its sources from before the revolution. The rebellion against God. Following 10 years of positivism in Russian culture, at the beginning of the century there came the time of spiritual quests of all kinds. One noted the return of orthodox religious traditions. Sergei Solovyov, Pavel Florensky, Sergei Bulgakov. Various forms of theosophy and anthroposophy. Елена Blavatsky, Andrei Belый, Nikolai Rerik, Vasily Kandinsky, variants of Eastern doctrines originating from the Tibet and India, Pyotr Uspensky, Georgy Gurdjieff, God-seekers, God-builders, etc. Malevich did not shy away from this research. While it is not easy to define his true position, it appears to have consisted of a negation of God, who was replaced by what he called the God-man, reorganizing the world according to his views or revelations. Among the first works by Malevich, one can find a triptych dating from 1907 and conserved at the Russian Museum and unknown to researchers. There are sketches from a tempera fresco. The central panel is the portrait of a young Malevich surrounded by figures with halos above their heads bowing before him. Beyond this self-deification, this replacement of God by the God-man, one can see a resolved attitude towards the world, an imperfect creation that one should remake. Malevich was not alone in defending this position. In 1906, an exhibition by the Leonardo da Vinci Society was held in Moscow. The preface of the exhibition catalogue contained these lines by the poet Victor Hoffman. But art does not only equal the world, it is more admirable than the world. The world was not a success, and God himself, under the appearance of the devil, whistles at the failure of his creation. Through art, we correct the world. We create a new one, a perfect one. Here is the Here is expressed the supreme fight against God. Malevich could have written these lines himself. He considered all his creations, and in particular those of his suprematist and post-suprematist period, as a rectification of the genesis. In the world he has created, God has established one single limitation, one single prohibition for Adam and Eve, not to pick the apple from the tree of knowledge of God and evil. But he did not want a forced obedience and gave the first man the choice, free will. Herein Malevich saw the mistake in the creation of the universe. If God had built a perfect system, he observed, Adam would not have sinned. The mistake comes from a limit established in this system. A system without any limit has no fault, and Malevich gave his definition of this system. The perfection of the system means that any unit, free of its movement, undergoing no pressure, cannot completely exit the system's framework. And it is precisely this system, a kind of suprematist universe, which Malevich built all through his life. The present cycle of Malevich is based on the tradition of the Russian icon, although a profound distinction between these two phenomena exists. The painter of icons does not paint a face but its image, an enlightened representation, the essence of the human face, a representation of the face that, so to speak, transcends it. The ontological freedom specific to man preserved its image and individuality in icons. In Malevich's work, there are too few faces to create an image and too many images to obtain a face. In the rigorously determined world he has created, there cannot be a fall, though no free will either, without which there cannot be individuality. Perfection, organized without taking into account the categories of freedom, has to be expiated. Like Jacob in the Old Testament, Malevich fights against God, but God triumphs. His correction of the days of the Genesis was unsuccessful. Did Malevich feel it? Not only did he feel it, his work evolved. Elements from Christian symbolism, mainly the representation of the cross, appear and develop on his canvases starting from 1920s and increasingly towards the end of his life. He continued to paint persons with white faces, sometimes having the rites of baptism performed on them, putting crosses on their foreheads, their hands, or their feet, as is done during this sacrament. The specific quality of the paintings from the last period of Malevich, non-objective art merged with figurative art, has given rise to much research. Привет! А это я разговариваю с вами.